Hey guys, today I'm going to lead you through a beginner/intermediate flow to dancer's pose or Natarajasana. We're going to begin by coming to a tall seat, anywhere that's comfortable for you. You can take your hands to your thighs, bending your elbows, maybe taking them closer to your ribs. Just roll your shoulders down your back, bring your ears over top of your shoulders, and relax your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and letting it go. If you'd like to, you can take one hand to your lower belly and one hand to your chest. Breathing deep into your lower belly, allowing that breath to fill up into your chest and letting it go completely, emptying out your lungs. Breathe at a comfortable pace without straining or forcing your breath. Maintain the posture that we created and just begin to take a couple breaths on your own. You can keep your hands there or take them down back to your thighs. Just take this moment to create an intention for yourself for this practice. We all come to our mat for a different reason, and just honor yourself today, whatever that reason may be. Gently flutter your eyes open, or you can keep them closed. Take your right hand down to the mat next to you. Inhale your left arm up overhead, straightening out your elbow, and as you exhale, lean towards the right side, stretching out the left side body. Make sure to root down in your left sit bone, allowing your breath to stretch out the rib cage. Inhale back to center and stretch out the other side. Take your left hand down to the mat, inhale your right arm up, and exhale towards the left side. When you're ready, inhale back to center. Just take your hands onto your thighs. We're going to move through cat-cow in a seated position. As you inhale, draw your chest forward, arching your back, maybe lifting your chin. And as you exhale, drawing your lower belly towards your spine, creating a C shape with your spine. And just move through back and forth through cat-cow with your own breath. Inhaling, chest forward. Exhaling, curling the spine. You can use your hands on your knees to pull your chest through. Come to a neutral spine, nice and tall, shoulders down. Lower your right ear towards your right shoulder. Gently drop the chin forward, rolling your left ear towards the left shoulder. Getting a nice stretch in the neck, roll towards the right side and back towards the left. Roll back and forth a couple more times on your own. When your chin comes down to the center, just lift your head up and take a deep breath there. We're going to move into tabletop. Come to your hands and knees with your hands underneath your shoulders. Your knees are hip width distance apart. Your toes can be untucked or tucked. And you're just going to rotate your fingers outwards until they face towards your knees. If they don't turn all the way towards your knees, that's okay. Just turn them out as far as they go and gently rock back and forth to stretch out your inner forearm. Sit your hips back towards your heels. You can untuck your toes. Take your fists to touch and straighten out your arms ahead of you. Try to straighten out your elbows while maintaining that connection in your fingers and knuckles for another forearm stretch. Make sure to draw your lower belly in and your shoulders down and back. Take a few deep breaths here. Great. Now we're going to come back to tabletop. So we're on all fours. Spreading your fingers out nice and wide, your middle fingers are pointing towards the top of your mat. We're going to move through cat-cow. So as you inhale, drop the belly, broaden the shoulders, and blossom your sit bones. And as you exhale, draw the lower belly in, curling the spine, looking towards your navel. Again, here you can have your toes tucked or untucked. Just move through cat-cow on your own with your own breath. Now we're going to move through sunbird. So just come to a neutral tabletop, flat back with your core engaged. Take your right arm out ahead of you like you're going to give somebody a handshake. Lift your left foot up behind you like you're pressing your foot onto a wall. And as you exhale, draw your knee towards your elbow, maybe they touch. And as you inhale, extend your arm and your foot away from each other. Move through that on your own a couple times as you breathe. Take one more, really lift your heel and your hand up and come back to a tabletop. Now we'll move through the left side. Take your left hand up in front of you like you're giving a handshake and extend your right leg behind you. Inhale your heel and your hand up slightly. Exhale, draw your elbow and your knee towards each other. Move through that on your own. When you're ready, come back to your hands and knees. Move through cat-cow just to find some fluidity in your spine. When you're ready, come and meet back at a neutral tabletop with a flat back. Extend your right arm out once again and your left foot out back, but this time bend your knee. Take your right arm back and grab a hold of your left foot, ankle, or shin. Press your foot into your hand and draw your foot closer to you with your hand. Keep your core strong here and your chest nice and open. Come back to your hands and knees and we'll do the other side. So extend your left arm forward and your right foot back. Bend your right knee. Grab a hold of your foot, shin, or ankle with your left hand and make sure you kick your foot away from your hand as you pull with your hand, pulling your foot towards the front of your mat. Come to all fours with your toes untucked. Open your knees wider than your hips and bring your toes towards each other. Press your hips back towards your heels, extend your arms forward, and rest your forehead on the mat, or if you have a block, onto a block. I like to rock my head side to side to massage the center of my eyebrows. Let your body completely surrender here, letting your arms relax and your forehead melt into the earth, and your chest come closer to your mat. Breathe deeply. You're perfect where you are, or if you'd like to, you can bend your elbows, taking your hands closer to your neck and shoulders, giving yourself a nice massage. When you're done, extend your arms out forward and come back to your hands and knees. This time, take your hands a palm length ahead of your shoulders. Tuck your toes and engage your core. Lift your knees off the mat and press your hips up and back, creating a long line from your tailbone to the crown of your head. If you'd like to, you can pedal out your heels, bending one knee and straightening out the other and moving back and forth, pedaling out your downward dog. As you press into your hands and engage your core, make sure you're still breathing here. Finish pedaling out your heels. Really press into your finger pads so that you're creating that long line, and don't be afraid to have a little bend in your knees. On your next inhale, shift your weight forward for plank, taking your shoulders over top of your wrists. You can keep your knees off of the mat, or you can lower your knees down. Gently lower your chest, hips, and knees back down, and untuck your toes. Take your arms out wide, tenting your fingertips, and inhale your chest up. As you exhale, lower your right shoulder towards the center of your mat, turning slightly to face the left. Breathe into that stretch in your right shoulder. As you inhale back to center, then exhale, turn towards the right side, lowering your left shoulder towards the mat. Take a few deep breaths here. Inhale back to center. Take your hands next to your rib cage and lift your chest off the mat, maybe lifting your hands off of the mat as well. And if you'd like to, you can extend your arms out behind you into airplane arms. Keep your chin tucked and really engage your core for locust pose. Breathe into your ribs. Lower your chest down. Take your hands down to your hips with your palms facing the mat, and take your left ear down, facing towards the right side. Feel your heart pounding underneath you. And breathe here. We'll do one more round of that, except this time we will have the option to move into bow pose. So take your head forward with your chin tucked, lift your chest off the mat, maybe taking your hands off the mat or extending them out behind you. You can take your toes off of the mat and bend your knees. Grab a hold of your ankles or your feet with your hands and kick your legs into your hands while pulling your ankles forward with your arms. Make sure to keep your legs parallel, making sure that your knees aren't pointing towards the outside of the mats. Draw your shoulders back and down. When you're ready, let it go and just lay down with your right ear on the mat with your palms facing down. Next, we're going to move into child's pose. Press yourself up and back, take your hips towards your heels, untuck your toes, and lower your head towards the mat. You can stay here and take a few breaths, or you can move into a Vinyasa flow, first coming into down dog. Lift your hips up, take one full breath here. As you inhale, shift your weight forward, coming to plank. Exhale, lower your body down, untuck your toes, lift your chest up for cobra or down, up dog. Lower your chest, tuck your toes, and lift back up to downward dog. If you are in child's pose, you can just meet back in downward dog. Come back to stillness. We're going to come to three-legged dog. Lift your left leg up behind you, extending that line from your hands all the way down to your heel and toes. Keep your left pinky toes facing down towards your mat so that your hips are still square. Draw your knee close to your chest and place your foot next to your left hand. Sweep your arms up overhead. Arms are parallel and your palms are facing each other. Draw your shoulders down your back. Take your hands down to your heart center. Turn to face the left, hooking your right elbow over top of your left thigh. You can stay in a low lunge or you can tuck your toes and lift your knee for high lunge. Your arms can stay in prayer pose or you can extend your arms away from each other. Gaze the direction your chest is facing or look towards your top hand. Take your hands to frame your front foot. Lower your right knee if it isn't already there. Bend that knee and straighten out your left leg, lifting your toes off the mat, keeping your heel down for half split. Inhale for a long spine, and as you exhale, focus on drawing your belly button closer to your thigh as well as dragging your left heel towards the back of your mat. Take a few deep breaths here. Come back to a lunge and tuck your back toes. Maybe inch your right foot forward until you can step to the front of your mat for forward fold. Take your feet hip-width distance apart, grounding into your arches. You can lift your toes and spread them, then take them back down to the mat to engage them. Keep a micro bend in your knees. Your hands can be on the mat, on your shins, or you can even take a hold of your elbows and rock side to side. Come to find stillness. As you inhale, lengthen your spine, drawing your shoulders down your back, maybe straightening your legs out, taking your hands to your shins or your thighs, and exhaling back down to forward fold. Come to a halfway lift, inhale, and exhale again for forward fold. As you inhale, press into your feet to come up to rise for a full body stretch. Take your hands through heart center and placing them down next to your sides with your palms facing forward for Tadasana, mountain pose. Take a few breaths here. Inhale your arms up overhead and hinge from your hips for forward fold. Bend slightly in your knees, step your right foot back, placing your heel down for warrior one. Make sure to bend into your front knee. Take your arms up overhead and keep your chest facing forward. Take a few full deep breaths here. Take your hands down to frame your front foot. Tuck your back toes and step your left foot back for downward dog. You can pedal out your heels, rest in downward dog or child's pose, or you can move through a Vinyasa flow. If you're moving through Vinyasa flow, shift forward for plank, Chaturanga, bringing your chest down, maybe your knees down for cobra, or knees up for up dog, and pressing back up to downward dog. Take a deep inhale and sigh it out. Now we'll move through the right side. Lift your right foot up behind you. Maybe flexing your foot, pressing your heel back, and take your right knee towards your chest, placing your foot down and lowering your left knee to the mat. Inhale your arms up overhead for low lunge. Take your hands to heart center. Turn towards the right side, hooking your left arm over your right thigh. Tuck your left toes to lift your left knee off the mat. You can stay there or maybe extend your arms away from each other, one towards the ground and one towards the ceiling. You can look up at your top hand. Take your hands back to heart center. Look down, frame your front foot, lower your left knee, and walk your hands back to straighten out your right leg. Half split. Take a few deep breaths here, breathing into the stretch. As you inhale, your chest might lift up away from your leg, and as you exhale, your body might move closer, deeper into the stretch. Take your hands to the front of your mat for a lunge. Take your left foot to the front of your mat for forward fold, and let your head be nice and heavy. You can take your hands to the mat, your shins, maybe behind your calves, or even to your thighs. Inhale for a halfway lift, lengthening the spine, and exhale for forward fold. Press into the mat, coming up all the way to a full stretch. Taking your hands through heart center, coming into Tadasana. Find a spot ahead of you to gaze or close your eyes. In this simple pose, find the balance between effort and ease. Inhale your arms up overhead. Hinge at your hips for forward fold. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Step your left foot back, placing your heel down for warrior one on the right side. Raise your arms overhead. Really engage your core, stretching out your left hip flexor. And keep your chest facing forward. Remembering to breathe deeply. Take your hands down to frame your front foot. Step your right foot back for downward dog, pressing your hips up. You can move through Vinyasa flow or rest in down dog or child's pose. Meet back in downward dog. Inhale your left foot up behind you and open your hips towards the left side. You can bend your knee and roll your ankle. Then come to straighten your leg and face your hips back down towards your mat. Draw your left knee towards your chest and place your left foot on the mat. Rise for high lunge. Keeping your back toe tucked and your heel off the mat, and bend into your left knee. Take your hands to heart center. Shift your weight forward. Step your right foot through so that your knee is lifted at hip height. Ground into your left foot, engage your core, and take your right knee next to your left knee, keeping your knee bent. From the inside, take your right hand and grab a hold of your foot or ankle. Kick and press your foot into your hand as it starts to lift. Maybe bringing your thigh parallel to the mat or higher. Maybe even bringing your torso so that it's parallel to the mat, keeping your chest facing forward. When you're ready, let go of your foot. Take your right leg around your left and cross your right arm underneath your left arm, twisting both your arms and legs, squeezing tight, coming to a chair with eagle arms. Release your legs and arms. Step your right foot back for a lunge. For airplane arms, take your hands to frame your front foot, step your left foot back, and inhale your left foot all the way up for three-legged dog. You can move through Vinyasa flow, or you can rest in downward dog or child's pose. Meet back in downward dog and take one full deep breath there. On your next inhale, take your right foot up behind you, open your hips towards the right side, bend your knee, and roll your ankle around. And when you're ready, straighten your leg out, take your hips back down to face the mat. Bring your right knee towards your chest or nose, and take your right foot down and step it down onto the mat, rising for high lunge. your arms overhead, draw your shoulders down your back and engage your core. Take a few breaths here. Ground into your right foot, maybe lift your toes and take them back down to find your arch. Take your hands to heart center, shift your weight forward to come to stand onto your right foot, and take your left knee through to keep it lifted at hip height. When you're ready, take your left knee next to your right knee, keeping that knee bent. Take your left hand from the inside to grab a hold of your left foot and kick and press into your left hand, coming into dancer's pose. Again, maybe your thigh or your torso become parallel to the mat. And when you're ready, let go of your foot, cross your left foot around your right leg, and cross your left arm underneath your right arm. Squeeze tight with your chest lifted. And sit your hips back. When you're ready, release your arms and legs. Step your left foot back for a high lunge with your torso sloped and your arms in airplane. Take your hands down to frame your front foot. Step your right foot back all the way up to three-legged dog. Here you can move through a Vinyasa flow. You can rest in downward dog or in child's pose. Wherever you are, take 3 full deep breaths, releasing a big sigh out on the exhale. If you're in downward dog, just bring your knees down to the mat and bring your hips back so that you can come to a seated. If you're in child's pose, just lift your chest up so that you can come to a seated. And we're going to take our legs out ahead of us so that we can sit our bums onto the mat. Keep your knees bent with your feet flat and take your hands behind you to open your heart forward. Lean into your hands but keep your chest open. You can stay there or you can lift your feet off of the mat, bringing your shins parallel to the ground. You could stay there or you can release your hands and take them forward with your palms facing each other. And you're going to tap one toe onto the mat at a time, just bending your knees. Making sure to breathe here as you're engaging your core. Keep your chest open and lifted. Watch for a curve in your spine. When you're ready, take your feet down and slowly roll your spine all the way down to the mat so that it's flat. Come to lie down. Bend your knees and lift your feet off the mat. Take your knees over top of your hips and place your hands on your knees, just in front of them on your thighs. As you inhale, extend your right leg and your right arm away from each other just so that they hover over top of the mat. As you exhale, draw them back to the center to touch. As you inhale, switch to the left side, extending your left leg down and your left arm, and exhaling back to center. Rotate back and forth from the right side to the left, engaging your core, making sure to keep your lower back on the mat, and using your breath to guide you. That's it, keep going. One more on both sides. And take your feet back down to the mat. Take your feet to the width of your mat and just windshield wiper your knees side to side, stretching out your hip flexors. Bring your knees towards your chest and just hug your thighs, hug your shins. and maybe rock side to side. When you're ready, take your feet down, keeping your knees bent. Take your arms to your sides with your palms facing down. Maybe tuck your shoulders underneath you. We're going to move through a spine mobility exercise. So as you inhale, arch your back so that it lifts off of the mat and there's space underneath you when you're pressing your tailbone into the earth. As you exhale, draw your spine back down, bringing your lower back flat to the mat. Move through this a couple times on your own, following the rhythm of your breath. On your next exhale, keep your back flat on the mat, drawing your tailbone up towards your knees, and press into your heels to lift your hips off of the mat, coming into a bridge. If you have space, you can tuck your shoulders underneath each other, bringing your arms slightly closer. Engage your core. Breathe into your chest, into your belly. When you're ready, release and lower your back down one vertebra at a time. Now we're going to move into figure 4 on the left side. So lift your left foot up over top of your right thigh, keeping both feet flexed to protect your knees. You could stay there, or you can lift your right foot off of the mat. If you want to move into an even deeper stretch, you can grab a hold of your right thigh and pull your knees closer to your chest. You can breathe into the stretch there, or you can rock side to side and see how that feels for your body. If you're holding your thigh, bring your knees closer to your chest a little further, and exhale your legs back down, uncrossing your legs, moving to the right side. Take your right heel over top of your left thigh. You could stay there, or you can lift your left foot off the mat, or you can grab hold of your left thigh and draw your knees closer to your chest. Again, breathe into this stretch, and you can rock side to side and see how that feels. Bring your knees slightly closer to your chest, a little bit more, and release. Uncross your legs, take your feet to the mat, heel toe them to the sides of your mat, and windshield wiper your knees side to side. Take your time with each side, really pressing the inside of your knee and ankle towards the mat. Take your knees back up to center and your feet closer to each other. When you're ready, we're going to come into an inversion. Extend your legs out, up over your hips. You don't have to straighten them out completely, but shake out your feet. And then stop and let it go. And just let your legs float there. And when you're ready, take your arms up overhead, shake them out. And then stop and let your arms and hands hang over top. Feel as if your limbs are seaweed floating at the bottom of the ocean. Focus on your breath. Fully let go and allow your torso to melt into the mat. When you're ready, take your arms and legs down. Extend your legs out onto the mat. letting your feet fall to the sides. Extend your arms out. Close your eyes. Maybe tuck your shoulders underneath you. Relax your jaw and your tongue and your eyebrows. Breathe into your belly and chest. Letting go of all that you've done. Acknowledging yourself for this work and time that you've put in for yourself. And surrender to this moment completely. In all your muscles, in all your breath, in all your cells. Be here right now. Begin to deepen your breath. Maybe start to move your toes and your fingers. Roll your wrists and ankles. Bend your knees and your elbows. If you'd like, come to a full body stretch or tuck your knees, kissing them to say thank you, awakening your body. When you're ready, turn to the side, extend one arm out underneath you, rest in fetal pose. On your next exhale, press into the earth, lifting your body up to come to seated. Sit down where you're comfortable. Just take your hands to your heart center. Bring your thumbs to your third eye between your eyebrows. May your thoughts have love, and your consciousness bring presence to your being and self. Now take your thumbs to your lips. May there be love in your speech, in all that you create and declare in this life. Now take your thumbs to your heart center. May there be love, openness, and gratitude in your heart. The light in me honors the light within you. Namaste.